Many organizations and people have struggled or been unable to keep up with the rate of change they've faced as a result of the effect of COVID-19. In order for organizations to survive, they have been compelled to do business differently, since the majority of employees are now needed to work remotely or from home. As a result, business procedures have had to evolve swiftly. In this blog, we will discuss some of these effects and how organizations have increased their use of change management to adapt to the new standard. So, in this video, we are going to understand the organizational changes after COVID-19. Before we get started, I would like to address the agenda for today's session. We will start our session with a brief introduction to organizational changes after COVID-19. Next, we will understand obstacles organizations experienced during COVID-19. Moving on, we will talk about effective change management tactics for executives during COVID-19. Finally, we will conclude the session by talking about trends for the future of work after COVID-19. I hope the agenda was clear. Before we start with our session, if you like this video, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, to learn more about Agile project management, DevOps and its practices, check out Invensis Learning's Agile Project Management Certification Training on Certified Scrum Product Owner, Professional Scrum Product Owner, Professional Scrum Master, and Agile Scrum Master certification. All of the necessary information is given in the description box below. Let us start our session with an introduction to organizational changes after COVID-19. The worldwide pandemic of COVID-19 has compelled businesses to handle their operations in interesting ways. Short term, they are faced with significant changes to the scope of their business strategies. Long term, they must adapt and continue to make progress toward their original objectives. Change might be difficult enough under normal conditions. It might be much more challenging to lead an organization's forced change management when working remotely. In order for changes to be successful in the new normal, employees are often expected to complete more new and different tasks while working from home, often alone, even when collaborating as a virtual team. Organizations have recognized that COVID-19 entails two significant modifications. The first employee is working from home, while the second is returning to the office. First, talking for working from home. The changes brought about by remote work have been both technological and behavioral. The platform, the result of not changing, and the risk of not changing were commonly acknowledged. In the majority of situations, there was no objection to change despite widespread awareness of its need. The decreased opposition was a result of the clarity of understanding of the lockdown regulations, which varied from nation to country and over time. The flexibility of employees' behaviors, mentalities, attitudes, and beliefs has proven crucial to the effectiveness of this kind of transformation. The capacity to technically equip employees with the systems and tools they needed to work efficiently from home, as well as the necessity to quickly adopt the new business processes necessary to do so, comprised the second challenge we identified. This included providing the appropriate infrastructure and systems in their homes as well as just-in-time training and technical assistance. The widespread use of technology by users of platforms such as Zoom, Teams, and WebEx has guaranteed that social connection has not fully vanished. Second, continuing work in the workplace. As nations reduce lockdown restrictions, many nations are opening up, and the possibility to physically return to work under improved safety procedures is becoming available. Multiple organizations have stated that the combination of a fear of commuting to work and the newly discovered ease and relative safety of working from home has stopped employees from returning to work. Despite the economic consequences of this cultural change, many organizations are now questioning the necessity for huge, costly corporate buildings, since the majority of employees seem to prefer working from home. Regardless of whether the organization decides to preserve and repurpose the office or sell or downsize the facility for occasional staff usage only, this substantial transition must be handled carefully from a technological and employee impact standpoint. Some companies are launching a program titled Return to Office. Others use a persona-based approach to their employee, assessing the likelihood that various staff positions will return to work. What must not be overlooked is that there is a new present situation that is work from home, and there is no burning platform in people's minds to go from a location of relative safety to an office atmosphere that many consider to be more risky. Now, moving on to our next topic. Obstacles organizations experienced during COVID-19. Regardless of the fact that organizational change management has a distinct set of challenges at each stage and is often industry-specific, the COVID-19 epidemic presented leaders with the following issues. First, defining the task of a changed team structure. Numerous jobs demand individuals or teams to do a series of repetitive duties, with which most people become familiar over time. People may hesitate when asked to take on a new position, despite the fact that they consider their worth to the organization as a skilled operations manager, technical architect, or security expert. This often impacts even those with outstanding technical talents, who struggle when asked to take on a new function since they must either acquire new skills or work via others and are no longer compensated for the skills that made them successful. Second, having an executioner with the necessary time and expertise. Execution is crucial to every project since you cannot be personally engaged in every project's execution. Companies often fail to choose an executor who completely understands the need for change. Or, they are stuck with someone who works in a hurry, without a thorough discussion of the difficulties that necessitated a new method of operation in the first place. It is a recipe for disaster if the individual appointed to this position lacks the self-assurance to face the difficulties and defend the method chosen and the reasons why alternatives were rejected. This often has a negative effect on the people who will be impacted by the change, the workers, since they may not be empathetic with those who oppose the new operating method if they lack the relevant information. Third, cultural and individual sensitivity. Individuals and organizations are known to initially resist change to some degree. Even qualified change management executives often find it challenging to embrace the emotional energy of the company and adapt it to new developments. Individuals must be willing to explore new information and embrace new habits and methods, similar to cultural openness. It is often noted that the majority of individuals will only accept changes that make sense and enhance their job content or work environment. If strategic leadership disregards these, it might result in a lost chance to implement a beneficial new change for the organization. Fourth, level of participation during changes. Leaders often overlook the fact that mid-level and frontline employees may make or ruin a significant project. These organizations understand the operational particulars of the current processes and may thus foresee possible issues and probable client responses. Specifically, they understand the difficulties experienced by faraway workers during COVID-19. While it is preferable to include fewer people at the beginning of a process, recognizing members of each team who are unaffected by the interruptions brought by significant change may result in a more committed workforce. In addition, doing so increases the likelihood that their recommendations will be taken to support the final product. Fifth, implementing modifications too late. With every significant transformation, such as COVID-19, the core project team is often consumed with business process modifications. If effective organizational change management is not implemented concurrently with the rest of the existing projects, there is a chance that end users, including workers and customers, may experience resistance. Now, moving on to our next topic. Effective change management tactics for executives during COVID-19. First, communicating a clear vision. Effective change leadership involves a vision that is communicated to people in a manner that is both comprehensible and inspirational. This shared vision should describe what will change and what will stay constant for the team and company. Increase the likelihood of change management success by providing staff with a range of communication channels. This may be accomplished by creating a clear image of organizational objectives during and after COVID-19, how the changes will assist in achieving those goals, and how it will influence people individually. Identifying and resolving potential roadblocks to change caused by communication bottlenecks. Formal and informal opportunities for workers to address the difficulties and possibilities related with the transformation. Individually discussing the change with each employee, particularly via one-on-one meetings through a dependable medium, for a tailored approach. Second, changing thought processes at the executive level. Support is the foundation of effective strategy implementation, which is defined by the elimination of obstacles to an employee's performance. This includes professional obstacles such as the required time and money to implement a change strategy, as well as human obstacles such as hurt egos and a feeling of loss. When leaders are only focused on outcomes, their people do not get the necessary assistance to adapt to change. Identifying important stakeholders, including board members, C-suite executives, and clients, among others, and communicating your vision of effective transformation to them is also helpful. Furthermore, if you want to be a great change leader, you must never believe you have all the solutions. Obtaining formal and informal input from remote teams will enable you to make continuous modifications throughout the shift, since you will have the information necessary to make improvements at every level. Third, beginning with managers before workers to facilitate a smooth transition. An effective organizational change management program begins with a group of executives that are devoted, aligned, and highly supportive of your leadership. When effort is made in advance to ensure that everyone agrees on the reason for the change and the implementation details, the transition is considerably easier. Importantly, the experience of working with leaders creates a more collaborative and dedicated workforce that utilizes the same language to communicate the company's objectives. This may give confidence in you and your manager's ability to cascade the strategy to other groups at lower levels of the organization. Fourth, leverage the timeline, before, during, after COVID-19. Throughout the time frame, as a leader, you must keep in mind the following steps. Before the change, begin asking questions to understand the employees' thinking before the epidemic and their readiness for the shift. During the transition, acknowledging change-required milestones and celebrating employee actions by complimenting the team's success and continuous dedication is a wonderful method to sustain change efforts. Using surveys to evaluate the degree to which the transformation has been effective, reinforcing the objective of the efforts undertaken after the transformation. Fifth, changes in cultural leadership. Culture is often left out of organizational change management strategies developed for leaders, making it one of the most difficult obstacles to overcome. Given the broad acknowledgement of the significance of culture, beliefs, and behaviors of the company's employees, it is often believed that a company's culture can adapt without specific attention. Focusing on structural issues like reporting, decision-making, and formal procedures may cause you to overlook that these changes will be implemented by humans with deep emotional attachment to the culture. This results in either cultural resistance or a failure to maximize cultural support, since the current culture was never taken into account while developing the transformation attempt. This may be accomplished by using how people currently act, think, work, and feel to bring culture to the forefront and offer a boost to the change project by aligning cultural aspects with the change. Sixth, act your way to innovative thought. An important point to remember among all the changes is that strong declarations of intention have little influence unless they are reflected in people's everyday actions. Once formal aspects such as directions and incentives are in place, change efforts must motivate individuals to shift their behavior. The members of cross-functional teams should interact more effectively, and managers must be clear communicators as they are tasked with communicating the new plan. When senior executives model new behaviors from the outset, it inspires people to think that genuine change is occurring because they see it occurring at the top of the organization. In addition, rather than making a major turnaround, you must adopt 3 distinct behaviors. Making significant, public decisions within the next several days rather than later. Spending time with the frontline leadership and engaging them in open conversations. Ensuring that medium and lower level employees have direct touch with actual clients. Seventh, communication is essential for effective change management. As a leader, you should never believe that since you communicated a powerful message of change at the start of a project, people will suddenly understand what to do. Throughout the duration of an effective and lasting change, continual communication is required. In fact, the more forms of communication that are used, the more successful they become. Today, internal communication plays an even more crucial role in communicating the sudden changes being made as a result of COVID-19, so that workers, particularly those working remotely, can understand where the new strategies are coming from and modify their work appropriately. During COVID-19, here are a few strategies to increase your communication with your remote and office-based employees. Explain and justify to your staff why these particular adjustments are being introduced. Clarify the goals you have established and assist the teams in achieving them. Encourage staff to ask questions, and most importantly, ensure that you can answer all of their queries, since this is crucial for implementing change throughout the pandemic. Account for what is working and what is not working to build a desire and commitment to correct issues in order to get the greatest outcomes. Now, moving on to our next topic. Trends for the future of work after COVID-19. First, hybrid employment becomes common. Hybrid work will continue to exist. There is little question that the future will be hybrid, since 75% of hybrid or remote knowledge workers say that their expectations for working flexibly have grown. In fact, if a company returned to a fully on-site structure, it would risk losing up to 39% of its employees. You must establish a new, human-centered model for the hybrid environment by structuring work around employee-driven flexibility, connected culture, and human leadership. Second, there's a shortage of critical talent. HR personnel are under more pressure than ever to fill positions with candidates who possess essential skills to fulfill market demands and drive organizational transformation. In the present economic scenario, there is an urgency to acquire few, necessary talents, but there is also an effort to minimize expenses. Expand the scope of talent strategies under consideration, either as part of your strategic planning or when the need arises, in order to effectively and efficiently meet skill requirements. Develop policies, standards, and infrastructure, for instance, that support the mobility of individuals from their present jobs to other existing or newly developed roles within the business. This establishes an internal labor market and makes it simpler and more appealing for workers to switch positions inside the organization. Third, well-being is a key metric. Traditional employee experience measures, like engagement surveys and turnover metrics, may not provide the whole picture, such as measuring present experience or overall well-being, which influences employee performance and decision to continue. Although 70% of firms have made extra investments in employee well-being over the last 2 years, the majority of workers have yet to take advantage of these opportunities. In order to recruit and retain people, you must include well-being as part of your EVP. Fourth, DEI results may decrease. The implementation of hybrid and remote work does not ensure that all workers will benefit equally from this transformation. This may have a negative impact on diversity, equality, and inclusion or DEI results. For example, 76% of managers believe that on-site employees are more likely to be promoted than remote workers. In light of the fact that women and members of minority groups are more likely to want flexible employment, proximity bias is a formula for unfairness. To assist all workers in a hybrid future, it is necessary to reduce discrimination in performance and hiring and to encourage underrepresented talent. Fifth, the turnover rate will rise. The majority of workers now expect to do hybrid work, and firms are already experiencing the repercussions. When workers are required to return to the office full-time, there is a large rise in turnover, and 52% of employees think flexible work rules will influence their choice to remain with their organization. Because the emotional costs of leaving a hybrid company are smaller and there are more employment options when location is no longer a consideration, turnover will continue to rise. Connect hybrid workers to the organization's culture and engage in talent procedures to develop employee networks to prevent this ongoing turnover. Sixth, changing responsibilities for managers. With fewer possibilities for spontaneous in-person meetings at work, managers must be more deliberate in creating and strengthening connections with their team members. The manager-employee relationship has a significant impact on the employee experience and organizational connectivity. CHROs must provide managers with the skills necessary to become human leaders and to manage workers' career perspectives, well-being, and organizational culture. Seventh, reduced work weeks constitute a new EVP. Competition in the labor market and rising inflation are putting more pressure on compensation, yet many organizations cannot afford to raise wages as rapidly as workers want or expect. If inflation continues to increase, not all employers will be able to recruit and keep people only via salary. This requires businesses to reconsider their EVP with shorter hours. C-suite executives and recruiting managers must collaborate to examine positions and processes where a shorter work week is possible in order to consider this new EVP strategy. Eighth, the gathering of data is growing. Analysis by Gartner reveals that 16% of companies are increasing their use of employee monitoring tools, such as virtual clocking in and out, tracking work computer use, and monitoring employee emails or internal communications or chat. While some companies measure employee engagement and well-being to understand better employee experience, others evaluate staff productivity. Even before the pandemic, companies were increasingly employing unusual employee monitoring techniques, and this trend will likely increase as remote employees are monitored and employee health and safety data is collected. Follow best practices to guarantee the proper use of employee data and analytics. I would like to conclude the session by saying, what we are facing now comes down to an individual level in which we must manage our teams and ourselves effectively while using the appropriate tools. Managing the individuals most affected by change as you transition your organization's operations can help in building greater commitment and momentum, reducing stakeholder opposition, and accelerating adoption. And the associated advantages may maintain change over the long term, regardless of your intentions. Continual changes in the nature of work have radically changed workers' attitudes about and expectations of their jobs. Particularly for diverse people, hybrid employment may be both an excellent opportunity and a significant risk. With this, we have come to the end of this video. I hope it was helpful. Comment your thoughts in the section below. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell, never to miss an update from the Invensis Learning channel. Also, to learn more about Agile Project Management, check out Invensis Learning's Agile Project Management Certification Training on Certified Scrum Product Owner, Professional Scrum Product Owner, Professional Scrum Master, and Agile Scrum Master Certification. You can also check our other courses, such as Certified Scrum Master, Professional Scrum Master, Safe Scrum Master, and Agile Scrum Foundation. We at Invensis Learning provide interactive instructor-led certification training by trainers with rich domain experience and expertise. We also provide mock tests to make you confident while appearing for the certification exams, access to mock tests and case studies prepared by industry experts, and personalized LMS with lifetime access that contains course resources. Thank you. Have a nice day.